Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in today. If you get a chance, hit that like, consider subscribing, maybe even hit that bell for notifications. Anyway, we're back working on our Cub Cadet 129 repower, where we took out the cast iron 12-horse Kohler and we put in an aluminum block opposed twin Briggs, 18 horsepower. We've also added a new hydraulic pump, and hopefully it'll be a little bit faster and better. So we've pretty much got everything done and rigged up the way we need it. The only issue we have is on the magneto of this engine. There's no way to ground it out, to turn the engine off. So right now the only option is to turn off the fuel, and then the engine dies. And then of course at startup it takes forever for the fuel pump to get going and get that fuel back in the line. So I'm going to show you kind of the problem we have and give you a rundown of what we've accomplished so far on this 129. All right, so we've got our dog's bed, pretty important for you to see. We've got our support arms in for our loader. They run down to there, down to the subframe. And there you can see our engine. We've got our exhaust wrap, because if you remember, I just had to cut this 1-inch piping, bend it, and then weld all those cuts back up, and it just looked obviously terrible. So we just wrapped it with that fiberglass tape and then rigged up a way to secure it on. We've got our new hydraulic pump, which is an 11-gallon. It's a single stage, and we've already had this running, and it is faster. It should be more powerful. I'm really excited to hopefully move some snow with it. Unfortunately, our first storm of the season wasn't snow, but a quarter inch of ice on everything. All right, so a few of the other things that had to change was our air cleaner, because we couldn't butt it up because of the gas tank. So I took some exhaust pipe, welded it up to the base, screwed that down to the carburetor, and got this aftermarket air cleaner. So life is good on that. This air cleaner is for the, what do they call that? Positive crankcase ventilation. So you've got coming out of here, and the way it was rigged up from the factory is these lines ran into the air cleaner housing. But again, we had to delete that air cleaner housing because where the gas tank sits, so we had to rig up our own little deal there. And these are just bigger fuel lines that I had sitting around. Man, this thing needs a wash when I'm all done with it. I did not want to redo the entire electrical system. So on the magneto, there should be a ground wire that kind of sticks out of it. And I hooked it up to this button, and that'll ground out the magneto and kill the engine. Now, unfortunately, the magneto that came on this engine, really, we had to guess. Let me see if I can get it. All right, so we're down at the magneto that came on this engine, and we had to guess. There's no tab anywhere that sticks out that's a ground. So I found a little tiny wire back here, and I thought that was our ground, and it isn't. So I went ahead and ordered a new magneto because I want to be able to turn this off and on without having to choke out the fuel. And now the big problem we're running into is this bolt comes out nice, and this bolt, let me see if I can get to it, right there, was nice enough to come rounded for me. So it's too tight of an area to get any sort of wrench in there, like a vice grips or anything. I'm able to get a vice grips on it, but I've got no room to turn it. So I'll kind of show you my plan. I'm going to weld something to that nut, and then hopefully we can use a little tiny wrench to undo it. But let me head over to the brand new magneto and kind of show you what we're working with. Hey, Hope. Yeah, are you excited today? You excited? Right, so for that little bolt on the magneto, the one that's in the engine, the one that was right here, I showed you that was rounded. I tried to get one of these extractors on it, but there's no room for this to fit in there. So this extractor is worthless for me. So the new Magneto has a clear ground tab. See, once you ground this out, then it stops sending spark to the spark plugs and it dies. So we do need to get that bolt out of the bottom that I showed you over there, and I'll kind of run you through what my plan is there. So if you're like me, you've got a million of these stupid things sitting around that you never actually use. So what I'm going to do is try to weld the top of this to that bolt on the Magneto, and then I should be able to spin that out with a 1/4-inch wrench and install our new Magneto, and we'll be in business. So that's kind of what I'm working on today. All right, well, the plan is, or was, to weld that onto the Magneto bolt that is rounded so I can spin it off with a 1/4-inch wrench. However, I can't get it in there. So now we're at a crossroads, and it really sucks because it's such a small thing, but I cannot get in there because there's just not enough space between this bolt and the frame. This bolt in the frame. And yeah, so I can get a little tiny wrench in here if that wasn't rounded. So the only other option I'm seeing is to take the engine all the way out and then take the Magneto out, which of course will be a lot easier once this whole thing's on the workbench. So yeah, the only way I see this is to take this whole engine out and work on it on the workbench. All right, so that's kind of where we're at today. I'm kind of stuck. I don't know if you got any good ideas. If you do, please put them down in the comments. I really don't want to go through the pain in the butt of taking this engine out, disconnecting all the wiring, all the fuel lines, all the engine mounting bolts, the drive shaft, taking it all out to change out a $17 Magneto. Sometimes it is what it is. Right now I can still use it. Like I said, the only way I can turn it off or on though, or excuse me, the only way I can turn it off is to choke out the fuel because that Magneto doesn't have a ground to it. So if you've got some good ideas, please put them down in the comments, help me out with this project, and we'll see you next video.